All right, so this is definitely my favorite city update yet. Not only is it the first installment of the hill section, which if you've seen any of my past city updates or my city overview video, you've definitely heard me talk about it, but a lot of this build was actually inspired by my recent trip to Italy, so it was really fun to come back with all that inspiration and see it actually materialize into a build. So let's get on with it. Let me show you what I've been working on. All right, so before we get into the speed building, let me show you guys the basic framework I've built using these dark gray slopes. I've also added a little bit of olive green leaves just for a touch of color. I didn't want this area to be too busy and complicated because I didn't want it to take away from the actual building area. So next I added this hand railing all along, and I used a 1x1 round brick, a 1x1 pin, as well as a Technic bushing, and then I attached the tiles using the anti-stud, and it gives it a really nice offset. So next, moving to the actual building itself, I was really excited to use my nougat bricks. It's a really beautiful color, and this color is used a lot throughout Italy. So I used white legs underneath the window for an accent, and the reason I'm using a bike shop window is because next to my Airbnb in my hometown, there's a bike shop that's been there for decades that I remember as a kid, so I thought it'd be really fun to bring that into the build. And then about 2 months ago, I built this small window assembly with really no clue when I was going to use it. And I felt like this was just a perfect opportunity to throw this in there kind of on the side. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I also wanted to use a little bit more of the dark green leaves just because I think they add a nice contrast. And honestly, I guess I'm just in kind of a dark green mood lately, especially with the sand red building. So now switching gears and working on the tiling, this is sort of a hybrid of the techniques I've used in my city. It's mostly round tiles and round plates with a handful of ingots and 1x1 plates. Now, I also mixed in tan this time, which I haven't done in any of my previous cobblestone sections. To be honest, I'm concerned it's a little too busy, so I'd like to get your guys' opinion and just let me know what you think. Is it just too much going on? I think I like it, but I'm just not sure. So about halfway through the build process, I had to go back and change the technique I was using for the inclines. Here I'm using ball joints. It gives it a pretty nice and clean transition from one section to the next. But on the other section, I've also used just a really simple hinge plate, and then it just rests on top of that brick. So now going back to the building and working on the second floor, I kept it really simple, just using these dark green windows and outlining them with white tiles. But here is quite frankly what I think is my best part usage ever. Look at how absolutely perfect the fork fits into the groove of the 3x3 tile. I mean, come on, that is a perfect fit. So now moving on and continued with more dark green plants growing up the side. I really like the color, but I think I might have actually overdone it here because it almost feels a little too heavy. So let me know what you think. The rest of the floor is pretty much the same with the windows. I'll probably go back and add a little bit of light gray texturing just so it kind of is cohesive with the bottom floor. But for now, I'm just going to leave it clean. So this is one of the parts of the build I was most excited for. When I was in Italy, we took a short drive to a nearby town called Lerici. And in their main square, they have this really cool light bluish gray wave pattern throughout. And I really wanted to recreate it in my city. So in my last pick-a-brick order, I had bought these modified gray tiles. Not sure what I was going to use them for. I ended up using them for this. I think it turned out really nice because it gives it a really nice design aesthetic and just breaks up the overall cobblestone look. And so, of course, I had to add some potted plants just to add a little bit of detail, and I used dark red pots just so that it would match the dark red awning, and I think overall it adds a really nice accent. All right, so let me know what you guys think of these potted plants. They match my beach club MOC, but I'm concerned that it's just a little too dense and heavy for a hand railing, so let me know what you guys think. So now moving to the roof, I wanted to do a really low sloping, simple terracotta roof. I added these wedge plates in to cover up the open void, and you can see that it just sits right into this little groove. And I just added some basic bricks on the back just to cover up again the open void. It's pretty simple, but for now it works. All right, so here is the before photo. You can see I've also removed some of the platforms in the city just to clean things up. And now what you've all been waiting for, here is the final result. I think this looks fantastic in the city. You can see I've also added 2 buildings in the frame. So first, I want to show you 2 details that I forgot to mention in the first part of the video. The first being the cheese slopes I added to the water just to give some movement and show the waves hitting the rocks. And then I added these stairs, which I wanted to look like they were carved out of the rock. And the idea is that this will be a little private dining area kind of attached to the building that I'll put next to this section. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but that's kind of my idea for right now. So you can see I've placed the sand red building here just temporarily because I'm actually going to disassemble this because a lot of the sand red bricks are turned inward in order to get the interlocking brick look. So I'm not really maximizing them. So in the coming weeks, I'll be destroying it and rebuilding something new. It will sit right next to the nougat building. It will be somewhat angled. And then I've also added this MOC on the top platform. It's a MOC that I worked on several months ago. I haven't had a chance to revisit it, but I figured it would look better up here than at the end of the table where you really can't even see it. It is a really nice build that I need to go back and finish, so definitely look for that in the coming weeks. So now let's see what the city looks like with the lights off. I think it is really starting to come together. I am super pleased with how it's turned out. I do need to order some more lights so I can light up a couple of the buildings in the background. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see the city updates that led to this build, check out the playlist. And while you're hopefully binging the old city updates, you might want to consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one.